In Indonesia, tempeh is everywhere. You find it sizzling in street-side walks and stacked in neighborhood markets. It costs pennies, making it a reliable daily protein for millions. But that very accessibility means it is almost entirely taken for granted by the local population. The country's founding father, Sukarno, even used it as a rhetorical weapon. In his speeches, he routinely warned his citizens against developing what he called a mental tempeh, or tempeh mentality. To call someone a mental tempeh was a severe insult. It meant you were weak, cheap, and easily crushed under pressure. The food was so closely tied to lower-class status that it became synonymous with an inferior social standing. That domestic stigma created a massive cultural blind spot. An entire nation consumed it daily, yet failed to recognize the biological marvel they had hiding right in plain sight. But step outside of Indonesia and head to a place like San Francisco, and you find a completely different economic reality. In Western markets, tempeh commands a steep premium. Buyers in Australia and France routinely pay up to 8 times the domestic Indonesian price for a single block of the fermented soy. International chefs treat it as an artisanal delicacy. It's packaged in sleek, modern cubes for the urban Indian market and served on premium menus for international flights out of Japan. The rest of the world looked at this cheap, working-class staple and saw immense value. They recognized a premium biological potential that its creators had historically ignored. To understand that value, you have to zoom in. Tempeh is created through the rhizopus mold, the dense white fungal network you see binding the soybeans together. Raw plant-based diets carry a hidden biological obstacle. Soybeans and other legumes contain anti-nutrients, compounds that actively block human digestion and prevent us from absorbing the nutrients locked inside the plant. The rhizopus mold solves this problem. Through fermentation, the fungal hyphae spread and act like an external stomach. They dissolve those anti-nutrients and pre-digest the complex proteins into simple amino acids before the food ever enters your body. This chart shows the protein efficiency score from the Journal of Cleaner Production. It measures how effectively different foods deliver protein per unit of energy. We see standard animal sources like poultry and dairy hovering between 1.0 and 1.4. Beef reaches 1.6, but tempeh dwarfs them all with a score of 4.0. The high price paid in Western markets reflects the raw efficiency of this biology. It is a premium for a protein delivery system that outperforms almost everything in the animal kingdom. Recognizing this science, a multi-generational group of Indonesian food scientists launched the Tempeh movement to dismantle the domestic stigma surrounding the food. They rely heavily on a vast network of diaspora entrepreneurs. People like Restono in Japan and Amita in Australia are setting up specialized production facilities, exporting local Indonesian fermentation techniques to foreign soil. They market it as a flexible, blank canvas culinary ingredient. It is being adapted into everything from high-end burgers to crisp dessert cookies. By elevating tempeh in Paris, Tokyo, and Sydney, these ambassadors prove its adaptability and force their home country to recognize its true worth. Today, tempeh serves as an instrument of geopolitical soft power. At diplomatic events like the vegan summits in San Francisco, it acts as a literal cultural bridge. This cross-cultural fusion is highly practical. The dried soybeans driving the industry are heavily sourced from American agriculture, but their biological potential only becomes accessible through the specific fermentation techniques developed in Indonesia centuries ago. To cement this global status, the Indonesian government is actively pushing to register the practice of making tempeh as a UNESCO intangible cultural heritage. Which brings us back to Sukarno's old insult. The mental tempeh was once meant to describe something flimsy and easily broken. The biology and the economics tell a very different story. A tempeh mentality describes a system that is resilient, adaptable, and efficient, the exact traits required to sustain a world with fewer resources and more people.